This module is going to be all about strings. As we know, a string is what we usually refer to as text. So, for example, if we were to create a variable and then we can print our variable, we'd get our text printed back out. However, more specifically, a string is actually what we call an object, which in its simplest form is a set of data and the functions associated with that data. In the case of a string, the text is the data, and then, as we will see in this module, there are a number of functions that can be performed on and with this data. Now, before we continue, an important note about strings is that they're immutable. So what this means is, once I've created this variable, my name, and set it to be equal to Donna Kelmer, I can't actually change it. If I were to do this, it actually is creating an entirely new string. It's not modifying our previous string. So now there's one string that's Donna Kelmer and one string that's Donna R. Kelmer. And the variable my name is pointing to Donna R. Kelmer. Let's take a closer look at our strings. The text associated with each string object is what we call a sequence of characters. So how does the computer represent these characters? A character, or CHR, as Python refers to them, can be one of four things. We can have letters, uppercase and lowercase, numbers, special symbols, and the last type of character is control characters, such as the new line and backspace and tab characters, which can't actually be printed to the screen, but also need to have some way to be represented in the computer. Now, although we claim that we're working with characters, in reality, the computer only works with numbers. And so to get around this, we have a one-to-one mapping that matches each character to a specific numeric value. When we have a plain text file, it's encoded using something called the ASCII table, which is short for the American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Here we can see the table that shows each printable character along with its encoded numeric value. In Python, we can take any character and convert it to its numerical equivalent using the ORD function. For example, if we want the ASCII value of A, we would type in ORD of A. And then we see that it's 65, which if we go to the table, we see that the ASCII value for capital A is 65. We can also check lowercase a. And we see that we get 97, which corresponds to what we find on the table. Notice that when dealing with the ORD function, we can send it only one character at a time, and that character is surrounded by single quotation marks. Now maybe we want to go the other way around. Let's say that we have the number 97 and we're wondering what character that corresponds to. So to do that, we can take the character function and we would send it 97. And we see that we get the lowercase a. Now because strings are just a series of characters, we can easily access each character individually using something called indexing. Each character has its own index in the string. So let's say I have the string Applebee's. I can access each character using square brackets. An important thing to note is that indexing begins at 0. So the A is at index 0, the first P is at index 1, 2, 3, and so on. So let's say that I want to access the L. The L is located in the third index. So I could do my string at 3, and I get an L. Now let's say I want to create a new string using the characters of my original string. So I could make new string and have it be equal to my string at 0, and I will add to it and my string at 2. So now I created a new string, and if we print, we see that we get app, which is indeed the first 3 letters of our original string. Now Python also allows you to index from the back of the word. So the last character is at the -1 index, and then the second is at the -2, and -3, and -4, and so on. So we can also create another string using the negative indexing. If we print this, we get our word that starts from the back of our original string. As we said, strings are an object, which means that it is data accompanied with a number of functions associated with that data. Now we're going to go over a function that can be used on the string class. The function is called the len function. This function can be used with various data types to get the length of the data. In the case of a string, this means that it will return the number of characters in the string. If I have a string, I can use the len function to determine how long it is. And this 25 is the number of characters inside of my string. Now, to summarize, we have strings, which are a sequence of characters. It is important to remember that strings are immutable. Now, each character is represented as a number inside of the computer, and we can refer to the ASCII table to determine which number corresponds to which character. And finally, we went over how to access individual characters in a string using something called indexing. And that's the end of String Basics.